So I had just packed up my backpack in this small mountain pass in interior Alaska, and I was by myself when they appeared. They came over a rise. It was a grizzly bear mother and her cub. And they were very close. They were only about 25 yards away. And it was one of those moments where I was like, is the end of my life going to be one of those trending stories on Facebook and Twitter? You know, park ranger killed by bears. Well, I stood up, and my motion caught the attention of that mother bear, and she swung her enormous head towards me, and our eyes locked, and time slowed way down. And I started thinking, me doing a solo backpacking trip in grizzly country, I mean, whose crazy idea was that? And then I realized that it was mine, because I wanted to be the perfect girlfriend. You see, my boyfriend, I mean, he had been backpacking like all his life. I mean, really for him, the womb, that was just his first perfect little pup tent. But for me, I mean, I had done a little bit of backpacking years ago when I was a Girl Scout. But I was interested in getting back into it because now I was a park ranger in Alaska. And it was my job to help people experience and understand and appreciate these vast, wild places and everything that lived in them, including grizzly bears. So before every ranger program that I gave, I would walk people through the simple safety steps that they should take if they ever encountered a bear. And sometimes people would say, do these really work? And I would say, theoretically. Well, backpacking became the go-to activity for my boyfriend and me. And the truth is, I really did enjoy it. And to prove that I enjoyed it, I decided that I was going to do a solo backpacking trip because I wanted to have that in my pocket for when I was judged. And no, it wasn't my boyfriend who was going to judge me. It was me who was going to judge me. Because I judged myself on everything, you know, my hair, my weight, you name it. And I had this crazy perfectionist that lived in my head that I was always trying to please. But it seemed like no matter what I did, that crazy perfectionist would always come to the same conclusion, which was, Ingrid is to be found wanting in so many ways. And there was sort of this subliminal message that went out to boyfriends that said, best break up now. But now, my boyfriend wasn't going to have to break up with me because I was going to be killed by bears. So I am staring at this mother grizzly bear, and she finally turns her head away. And then she turns her head towards me, and her shoulders, and her body, and she is coming at me in a full-on charge. And I'm thinking, all that weight, all those teeth, all those claws, and all I can think is, fuck! But then that little ranger safety message clicked in, and so I did not run. I raised my arms above my head, and I talked to that bear in a deep, firm voice. I said, hey, bear! And that charging grizzly stopped. Yeah! And she looked at me, and then she turned around and went back to her cub, and she began to lead her cub across the ground that was below me. And I stood there waving my arms, saying, hey, bear, over and over again, thinking, oh my God, this works. And I watched how the wind sort of ruffled the fur on her back, which I judged to be natural blonde. And while I was at it, you know, she had rather thick legs and a huge butt. But what really impressed me the most was the way she moved through the world. I mean, she moved through the world with purpose and grace. And so I stopped saying, hey, bear, and instead I said, you are beautiful. Only I said it in my super deep voice, so it was more like, you are beautiful. But she led her cub up over a rise and disappeared, leaving me to think about what had just happened. And that is when I realized that I had just been judged. When she first saw me, she didn't know what to think of me, and so she charged. And in that charge, she realized that I really was no threat. I wasn't even decent prey. She found me wanting. And I've got to say, the crazy perfectionist in me was kind of like, oh, you bitch! But then I realized, you know, to be found wanting sometimes has a very practical application. But after that, as I moved through the world with my boyfriend, who later became my husband, I did come to understand that to be imperfect is okay. It's human. And so I think that if my grisly encounter ever did end up being a trending story on Twitter or Facebook, it might have the hashtag of Hey Bear, and the lead would be crazy perfectionist in head meets grisly death. Yes.